To begin with, let me pose to you a scenario. Rover's father is a robber. His grandfather is also a robber. Over the years, Rover has learned from them, and he is now an excellent robber himself. One day, Rover's father becomes very ill and is admitted into a hospital. Unfortunately, the hospital bills are too high for Rover to pay. What will Rover do? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? Rover will steal in order to pay his father's hospital bills. Why is this? You see, Rover's family is full of robbers, and he is one too. According to Rover, stealing would be the right thing to do at the time. You may be wondering what Rover's story has to do with the Rotary four-way test. Sit tight, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be getting there shortly. The ethics and morals that were instilled in Rover vary from what you and I may have learned. That is why we view his actions as mistaken. However, the basic moral principle of taking care of your elders is clearly seen in Rover's actions. He does want to save his father. Now, let's take a step back and look at the big picture. Rover is an example of how a person's upbringing can influence his or her ethics. Now, consider this. What if Rover lived in China? What if he was Buddhist? These are just two factors that could greatly alter Rover's ethics, and they can be summed up with one word: culture. A person's culture has the most profound impact on the ethics he or she lives by. I will soon employ the use of the four-way test to assert this fact after I've substantiated it with appropriate evidence. Culture has many components, with religion or belief system being a crucial factor. Nearly the entire world is influenced in some way or another by at least one of the estimated 4,200 religions that exist today. Differences in culture can also arise from the type of government that a society is run by and that society's relationship with the environment and other peoples. This leads to a vast number of unique cultures, each with its specific ethics and morals. An example is the use of arranged marriages, a practice that is found in some parts of the world, including the Middle East, India, Pakistan, China, and Japan. I'm from India, and I can attest to the fact that arranged marriages are prominent there to this day. They are primarily based on financial gains and strengthening the relationship with another family. Here in the US, the idea of arranged marriage may seem absurd to some, but in India, it's part of the culture. So what is the result of all these different cultures and the varying ethics that they encourage? Unfortunately, the answer isn't always the Olympics. Differences in culture can lead to some dangerous standoffs. ISIS. Their radical approach to Islam further mutates their ethics into a corrupt set of moral principles. They don't call themselves terrorists. No. According to them, they're doing the right thing. They're following their ethics. However, before condemning others, we must first look at ourselves, just to make sure we aren't being hypocrites. I'm talking about the Red Scare of the 1950s, which took place here in the US. Sure, it may not amount to the devastation that is being caused by ISIS, but still, in America's eyes, anything that had to do with communism was evil. Innocent people had their constitutional rights violated, all because communism seemed unethical to the United States. Now, let's take this to the four-way test. First, is it the truth? Yes, culture plays a major role in the ethical development of a society, and the examples I mentioned indicate that a society's form of government and primary religion are key in defining that society's culture and therefore its ethics. Next, is it fair to all concerned? Now, this question is very important. The fairness of someone's ethics is based on perspective. And with so many different cultures with variations in their ethics, there are many perspectives to be considered. Unfortunately, the same can be said for the next two questions. Will it bring goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Let's take ISIS as an example again. According to them, they are bringing goodwill to the world by destroying democracy, which they believe will be beneficial for the world. However, to the rest of the world, the terror that ISIS has wrought is destructive and evil. Any remark we make about another person's ethics is biased. We may have been raised differently, We may follow a different religion. We may support a different form of government. Let's bring back Rover. Now, put yourself in his situation. What would you have done? Well, you would have tried to save your father too, right? But the way you would have went about acquiring the money would be different. Maybe ask for a loan or sell some of your belongings. This is proof that everyone has the same basic ethics and moral principles, but the way they exemplify these principles varies. Is this variation a problem? Well, if it leads to death and destruction, it can be. So how can we fix this? Why can't we all just get along? I don't know. This was a very thought-provoking topic that only increased in complexity the more I dwindled in it. I don't know how to get everyone in the world to follow the same set of ethics and carry them out in a similar fashion, but I do know what I, as an individual in a world of 7 billion, can do. I can walk in the shoes of others. I can be accepting of others' differences in religion, gender, culture, and race. I can consider their motivations of their emotions. I can consider their perspective. I can consider them as fellow humans and treat them with the respect that they're entitled to. And that, my friends, is how I will live an ethical life. Thank you.